America. Welcome, universe. This is another episode of Nightcap. This is just kind of the random stream that we do whenever we feel like doing it. I'm riding solo tonight, just by myself. Figured we'd just have a good time, check out some fun stuff. There's some few things in the entertainment news that I thought maybe I had some things to talk about. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, just kind of chilling, just kind of vibing, you know? My wife's in the lounge, painting, listening to music, and I was like, you know, good opportunity. Good opportunity to have a chill stream and just do whatever. So yeah, if you don't know, I'm Sean from Zoobox. Check out all the particulars in the description. You know, we're all over the place. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter. Wild world we got out there. Wild world. Anyways, so we're just going to get right into it. So a few days ago, they announced that they were going to be doing Deadpool 3 and Predator 5. That Disney, after buying 20th Century Fox, it was kind of up in the air. Like, who's going to do what? Are they going to do anything with these properties? You know, Predator and Alien being a couple big ones, because Disney has kind of a mandate of being more of a friendly or a family-friendly service. So it was in question, like, what would happen to them? Because they're kind of fledgling franchises. Both of the last movies didn't do so well, didn't do so hot, you know, in the theater. So there's a question whether or not they'd bother doing anything at all. Like, you know, Ridley Scott from Prometheus and then Alien Covenant, like, he had intended to make a new trilogy dealing with the kind of the concepts that he wanted to deal with from the franchise. But Alien Covenant really underperformed, even though it was lower budget. They changed tact. If you've ever seen Alien Covenant, it ends up being kind of a direct response, a direct answer to the criticisms of Prometheus. You know, a lot of people just kind of saying, not really an Alien movie. They weren't about it. They weren't about the new direction. They didn't like the idea that it was kind of more broad, talking about creators and creations and the cycles of life and what we get from who and what we get from where. You know, that was kind of a big thing for it. And people just didn't respond to it. They didn't like it, you know? On the other hand, you know, I don't think Prometheus or Alien is like some great movie. I don't think there's some wild time or whatever. But I do think there's a lot of interesting commentary in there about the nature of life, you know? So I kind of enjoy it on an intellectual level, even if I think the movies fall a little bit short. I'm actually I'm okay with Alien Covenant. I think that one is actually better. And I think the best moments of the movie are when it is a direct sequel to Prometheus rather than trying to be kind of a truncated version of Alien. And it's kind of, it feels very dissonant in some sort of way. Like there's a disconnect between the two different types of movies that it's trying to be. You know, it's just trying to be too broad. It's trying to pander too much. So, you know, you get something that's a little muddled, a little mixed up. Prometheus is probably more like thematically coherent and consistent, but the movie is plagued with contrivance and like dumb characters, things that kind of just break the verisimilitude of the movie, of the world. The world building is kind of like a little undercooked. For as long as Prometheus is, I kind of wish that they had dived a little deeper into the motivations of some of the characters before they even leave, right? And I don't know why Ridley Scott does this, but like he buried all of this like important backstory and stuff in marketing materials. Like there was like these fake kind of TED Talks that you could watch. There was even Alien Covenant literally just has like a deleted scene that was used as kind of a trailer, basically, that they released on YouTube. It's one of James Franco's characters actually in it. And they kind of see what happened to them. Because Alien Covenant, if you don't know, starts with like a big tragedy. A bunch of people end up like dying. And it kind of sets up this sense of desperation and leads them in the direction they go. But anyways, we're talking about Predator. Predator 5 was just announced. Apparently they've been working on it for a few years. It's going to be directed by Daniel Trachtenberg, who, if you don't know, directed 10 Cloverfield Lane a few years ago, which most people generally like. So there are some people that are kind of excited about the notion of Daniel Trachtenberg being the director of this. I think 10 Cloverfield Lane is generally pretty good. It's a good like chamber piece kind of. Good performances. Not too stupid. It gets a little silly towards the end, and not because of the reveal. Not because of the reveal. It's because of it just kind of turns into a weird monster movie. You know, it's for so much of it, it's like a psychodrama. These people are trapped in a bunker with a crazy guy, and they don't know whether or not what he's saying about the outside world and what's going on is real. And there's some clever stuff in there. And like I said, some good performances. Worth your time if you've never seen it. For sure. 100%. Anyways, so let's go check out this article. It's on Bloody Disgusting. One of these rags. One of these blog rags. And now let's just go through the article and we'll talk about it. And I'll talk about how I feel about the Predator franchise and all that stuff in general. It'll be a good time. So the beginning is kind of just going over what I had already just said about, Disney and stuff like that. However, the biggest signal was this past Friday's leaked news that 10 Cloverfield Lane's Dan Trachtenberg was hired to write and direct the next installment in the Predator franchise. This was huge news, being that Shane Black's The Predator from 2018 rather, as good as it wasn't, underperformed behind an excruciating budget. It appeared for the time being that the franchise was all but dead. There's corners of the internet that really like Shane Black's The Predator. And while I don't think it's like the worst movie I've ever seen, it is wide of the mark, in my opinion, in terms of being a successful movie. And the problem is it's just unbalanced. The tone is all over the place. It doesn't strike out well. There's something about it that's just kind of off. And there's something about it that's almost like TV movie-ish, which I was surprised, because I'm a fan of Shane Black, as a writer. One of the big exciting things about Shane Black coming back to the franchise was that he had written the first one. He had written the original one, and he's even one of the characters in the original one. He's the one that does the joke about, like, the giant pussy joke with, what's his name? With Jesse Ventura. So, it was exciting. I think we were all excited as fans of the franchise. I'm a fan of the franchise. I mean, granted, I think only the first movie is really, really good. And it's almost like an accident that it was really good, because that thing was plagued with production problems. I mean, they had to, halfway through the shoot, change what the monster looked like, what the Predator looked like. It was like this big, like almost praying mantis inspired creature, and they had a dude in like a fucking rubber suit, and they were gonna do some sort of early version of CGI stuff from the 80s, and it just wasn't working. In fact, I think that was when Jean-Claude Van Damme was actually cast, a young Jean-Claude Van Damme cast as the Predator, and he's running around the jungle down in Mexico, I think they were, and in this big stupid suit. It's not until Stan Winston gets involved, and obviously we get the iconic look of the Predator that we all have come to love. So let's continue. Digressing, while we hope this also means a new Alien is quietly in the works, Trachtenberg popped onto Twitter with an interesting bomb over the weekend. "This was meant to be a surprise," he tweeted. "Been working on this for almost 4 years now. I am very sad that what we had in store for how you could discover this movie will no longer happen. It's a bummer. But also, yay!" First, it's interesting that he's been working on this for 4 years and it's not connected to Shane Black's The Predator, which was released just 2 years ago. Also, I love that there were plans to surprise fans in the same way Paramount did with Trachtenberg's 10 Cloverfield Lane. I have a feeling I know what the surprise was going to be, like what kind of marketing they were going to go for. I don't see if they get into it in here. I can't remember. We'll just read through the whole thing and then we'll comment. The With all that said, several readers contacted me over the weekend to point out that Trachtenberg had previously been announced to be working on a film called Skulls, which seems like an appropriate title considering the trophies predators collect. Digging in even deeper, Skulls was not only announced to be penned by Patrick Asen for 20th Century Studios and Disney, but also hailed from Predator series producer John Davis. Coincidence? I think not. Here's the logline. Skulls will follow a Comanche woman who goes against gender norms and traditions to become a warrior. If you want to reflect that against the Predator series, the late Sonny Landham, who Variety wrote in their obituary, was part of the Seminole and part Cherokee, was best known for portraying Native American tracker Billy Soul in the Arnold Schwarzenegger star Predator in 1987. I'd love to think there's a connection here. No matter, it sounds like Trachtenberg's project is still heavily in the works, and while no longer a surprise, is being backed heavily by Fox's parent company, Walt Disney. What do you want to see out of the next Predator? So the most interesting thing for me that came out of this article was, that they've been working on it for a while. So they were obviously had already intentions to kind of do these standalone movies, which I think is a good thing. I think when you try to take all these franchises and make connected universes and everything has to be kind of a direct sequel to the last thing, almost like serialized, I don't always think that's a good thing, especially when you have something that's like just conceptually like Predator. Like you could just take the Predator concept and you could just go to different cities, different parts of the world, different time periods, which it looks like they're going to be doing here. Because, the log line, Skulls will follow a Comanche woman who goes against gender norms and traditions to become a warrior. Well, there you go. It's going to be Predator pre-colonial days, which I had actually heard a rumor not that long ago that was the intention of the new movie, was to kind of go back and do something back to basics, something a little bit more maybe akin to the original Predator. While that was a contemporary movie and it took place, in 1987 when it was happening, because of the situation, the context of where these soldiers are deep in the jungle, they're kind of back to basics. They have to learn how to, other than their awesome firepower, obviously, but they have to learn how to use their environment in kind of a more old-fashioned way. Being a Comanche woman who goes against gender norms and traditions is just very current year. It's very 2020. Not saying it's going to make it a bad movie at all, but it just seems very typical. Although we haven't really seen a Predator versus a woman, so I guess you could just say, just in that, sure, why not? We could try that. It seems a little weird that would be happening in pre-colonial days, that there would be somebody of that mindset, but I wasn't alive then. What the fuck do I know? Who knows? Maybe it'll be amazing, completely transformative, It'll really just break the mold, break us into something completely new. Who knows? Nobody. That's who. Nobody knows. Yeah, and I imagine that was how the surprise was going to be doled out, right? It was probably going to be something like, you just think it's this movie about this Comanche woman, this warrior woman from pre-colonial era, and then it would probably reveal itself that she's either hunting or being hunted by a predator. That seems like the obvious route. Would that have been fun? Maybe. Maybe it would have been. I kind of enjoy fun viral marketing when it works when it's doing something clever. And I think that's kind of clever. That's clever enough at least to get me interested in something, right? The Predator franchise is something that the only movie I really love is the first one. And all the other ones were kind of just variations or gradations of they're okay. I don't know why. They've never really done well by the concept. Some of them are fun. I like Predator 2. I can get down with Predator 2. I can get down with Predators. I don't think the only one that I would say is quote unquote bad is the Predator. And that's not because of I think that is just there was so much production trouble with that movie that it was kind of fucked. They just couldn't figure out how to properly properly modulate the tone of the movie, and there's too many characters, and it was kind of just all over the place. And it's also had a really oddly like childish story. Like, it should have been like a PG-13 movie with the kind of the tone they had struck. It's not even that kind of crazy, over-the-top violent, except in like a few key moments. I don't know why. I don't know why they did that. I expected more out of Shane Black, to be honest with you. But, you know, I remember back in the day, though, when I saw Predators. I saw Predators in the theater. And Predators is from an old Robert Rodriguez pitch for a direct sequel. It was going to be Predator 3 back in the mid-90s. And it was supposed to bring Arnold back. And it ended up just being shelved. Like, nobody, it just, because of the kind of underperformance of Predator 2, and kind of the, Predator 2 is not the most critically loved movie either. It just kind of get shelved for a long time, and then it gets brought back up, and then Rodriguez comes back as a producer, and somebody else directed it. Actually, I can't remember off the top of my head. I can look it up. But I remember when I saw that movie the first time, like, I did not hate it. In fact, I kind of really loved it. When did this come out? 2010? 10 years ago. I was in my early 20s. Big Predator nerd. And it kind of delivered the kind of movie that I wanted a Predator sequel to deliver, which is people, a bunch of soldiers out fighting against predators, and it expanded the universe in an interesting way. It is both a direct sequel to the original Predator, but it also kind of uses the way that Predator 2 ends, in the fact that it's discovered that the predators go all over the galaxy. You know, they go to different planets and they hunt other kinds of game. Like, there's skulls from other civilizations. There's a xenomorph in there, which is what launched, you know, the Alien vs. Predator video game concept, and then later the Paul W.S. Anderson movies. So I thought Predators actually was kind of a smarter script for that. Now, I've watched it not too long ago, maybe like a couple years ago. I rewatched Predators. It hasn't held up super well, honestly. I can't really quite put my finger on why. It's like, it just feels really dumb. Not that it has to be not that even the Predator itself, the first movie, is really stupid, but the first Predator is so simple. There isn't all of these other complications or considerations that you have to make. It's just these dudes in the jungle versus this alien. That's it. And then it's like kind of have a slasher movie format where they're getting picked off one by one until the end, until it's Arnold versus the Predator. You know, Predators has kind of a similar structure, but there are so many other things and so many other things that need to be explained, and it just kind of gets bogged down. Like, it's just too simple of a concept, I think, to really kind of build out that way. Yeah, I'm happy to be wrong, though. I am happy to be wrong. But it seems like Predator 5, in terms of what they have planned, is probably going to be more or less a very straightforward kind of, like, it's probably going to be Comanches, a tribe of Comanches versus a Predator. Which, you know, on its face, doesn't sound awful. I could dig that. I could get down with that. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Got no choice but to see. I'll definitely be there. I'll definitely go see it. Why not? What else we got here? Yeah, so, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I thought it was interesting just in the sense that, because the Predator did not do well, it just was another one of these reminders that just because you have the name of a known franchise involved in something does not necessarily mean that anybody's going to give a shit about it. The same thing happened a few years ago when they remade RoboCop, which is more or less a RoboCop remake, kind of only in name. Honestly, one of the worst things about the RoboCop remake is that it's called RoboCop. Probably would have fared a lot better if it was just its own thing. My opinion. My humble opinion. But yeah, that's that. We did it, guys. We talked about The Predator for 20 minutes. Fucking wilding out over here. Wilding out on this chill stream. I don't know. What else can we look at? I pulled up a few other little things that I thought might be fun to look into. I spent the other day, Sunday afternoon, I watched nothing but anime. Well, actually, Sunday almost the entire day. Watched nothing but anime all day. I got in the mail a movie I've wanted to revisit for a long, long time. Ninja Scroll. Ninja Scroll on Blu-ray. I really liked the movie Ninja Scroll. It had been a long time since I'd seen it. I was curious if my opinion had changed or something like that. Sorry, I got a little distracted. There it is. There he is. It's directed by this guy, Yoshiaki Kawajiri. Interesting guy. And what ended up happening, I ended up falling down this kind of rabbit hole after watching Ninja Scroll of checking out these other movies. And there was one that I had thought I had seen when I was younger. I thought I had seen it on the Sci-Fi Channel. Because when I was growing up, they used to play anime movies every Saturday morning. And that's kind of was my introduction to anime. And I used to, wake up. I think it was like, maybe like 8 or 9. They'd play an anime movie, heavily edited. But it's when I saw a lot of my favorites. Vampire Hunter D comes to mind as being one that I saw. And I saw Ninja Scroll. I definitely saw the very heavily edited for TV version of Ninja Scroll. And I thought I had seen this movie, Wicked City. Ended up what I had actually seen was another movie directed by the same guy. Called Demon City Shinjuku, which is kind of like a spiritual sequel to this movie. It's got like a similar concept. It's kind of like, honestly, it's kind of a mashup between like Wicked City and Ninja Scroll in the terms of the way it plays out. But Wicked City, holy shit on Wicked City. This is the description for the movie, okay? The story takes place towards the end of the 20th century and explores the idea that the human world secretly coexists with the demon world, with a secret police force known as the Black Guard protecting the boundary. Okay, I read that. I'm like, that's cool. I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it. I was not prepared for how relentlessly explicit this movie was. I mean, I've seen some crazy animes, and I'm not talking about like, what do you call it? Tentacle porn, whatever. I'm talking just like, some violent anime movies, some crazy anime movies. I've seen a lot of them. And even I, still, with all that history, all that anime history behind me, was not prepared. Was not fucking prepared for what I saw in Wicked City. I wanted to show some clips, but I don't think I can. I pulled up the trailer. I thought maybe we could check out the trailer together. Just because if you are into weirdo, crazy shit, you gotta check this movie out. You just gotta, folks. It's, it is something else. So we'll give it a go. Check out the trailer. Hopefully it doesn't fucking bork my live stream here. Because you know how these people can be. You know how these folks are. Yeah, let's shift this over just a smidge. It's the Japanese trailer, I think. So, you have to deal with that.
どうやら相棒らしいな。助かったよ。
こちら側の腕利きガードの割には だらしないわね。
I just love the style and the look of this kind of era of anime. I don't know why. I just do. I just love the aesthetic and the texture and the cool science fiction, cool kind of like concepts from this time. It's like this, so many great kind of horror and cyberpunk, and they were so Western influenced. Some of this stuff, not so much Wicked City. I mean, Wicked City is in the sense of, like shadowy government stuff. But, Japan's got its own shadowy government stuff, You ever see Golgo 13? It's another really fun one. But I was just so taken with just the look of the movie. The fact that it's fucking batshit crazy was just like a cherry on top. It was just a bonus. But I wish this was in English. But I just love the vibe of it. I love the vibe. I love the music.
言ったはずよ。任務には命をかけている。
まだ3サイズ
Maybe we'll scrub through a little bit. Is there any other crazy shit? It's like telling you the whole movie. It's so weird. It's showing you the whole movie without showing you the movie. Because this shit gets fucking wacky. I'll be honest. It's kind of an incoherent trailer. Like, if I were to have seen that trailer, I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. It does not... there's some wild shit in there, but it's just very anime shit. It's not like... It's not properly selling you what watching that movie is like at all. I mean, my jaw was on the fucking floor for 90 minutes. Just like, holy shit. Are they really going to go there? They're going to go there again? They're gonna do some shit again? Like, there's a scene, but I can't show it. Is there somebody upload the whole movie? Do you think I could get away with just watching the whole movie on YouTube? That would be fucking, that would be wild. Yeah, I'm not hardest anime fight sequence ever. You decide. Let's check it out. Let's watch this fight sequence. Oh, cool. It's got subtitles too. Very lucky. We're all lucky. A lot of this stuff on YouTube does not have the subtitles. It doesn't have the subs. So let's check it out. Let's just check out a scene from it. Why not? It'll be fun. Me and you together. Forever. And this is following one of the grossest scenes in the movie.
お姫様を助けに来た王子様ってわけか。おとぎ話はここまでだ。同化が終わったようだな。わかるか。今お前が倒した連中がどうなったか。
The slime! Slime!
木連三郎、お前の最後だ。
Now, I'm not sure why they titled this video Hardest Anime Fight Sequence Ever. Because it is not the hardest anime fight sequence ever. But it's pretty wacky.
Kisama, これほどのパワーがあったのか。
One of the coolest things about this scene is actually about how well it was directed. And Yoshiaki Kawajiri, probably mispronouncing his name, but this is what he's really great at. Especially when you go back and watch something like Ninja Scroll. Maybe we'll check out a scene from Ninja Scroll after this, but the way that he can set the fight in a time and a space, right? Like you understand the geography of what is happening in this fight, right? And it's also punctuated by all these beautiful little cut-ins. Like this is the top of the form for like animated action. There's so many different pieces going on. And they're just all kinetically edited together, but never in a way that feels like kind of too fast-paced or erratic. It feels very purposeful. And I think that's really fucking cool to me. You know, I'm not like Mr. Anime dude. Like I'm not this, you know, I'm pretty picky with anime, but stuff like this is interesting. Sarah says, for conversation, totally see a Suda 51 influence too. It's so pretty. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this is something that Suda probably would have grown up with something like this. Probably watched stuff like this a lot when he was a kid, honestly. Even the kind of the whole framing of this story is very Suda 51. And if people at home don't know what we're talking about, it's the guy he's a video game director. No More Heroes, Killer 7. This has a lot in common with Killer 7. So, yeah, let's continue on. Ruh-roh. You're gonna get fucking pulled. And look at him, he's a gentleman. Good guy.
大丈夫か
She's like, wow.
あなたこそひどい傷じゃない。ありがとう。うれ
Alright, let's see here. Is there any other fight stuff in here? Because this is just, you know, dialogue. Do. Oh, they're not going to show this scene on YouTube, are they? We'll give it a go, because shit gets fucking wild, even crazier here. Let's see if this is what I'm thinking it is. I've only ever seen the movie one time, so, you know, I'm not super familiar with it, so I don't know where everything is, but I think this is one of the scenes I was thinking of. The movie's just constantly escalating into the next crazy fucking thing. Yeah, that's coming out of her vagina.
申し訳ありません。私があの時仕留めておけば。
生き残ったのはお前と私だけだ。火星を呼ぶ時間がない。必ず仕留めてこい。
は。あの男の体液の分析結果が出ました。
Okay, she's getting the mission, but are they going to show the scene? That's the question. No, they are not. Okay, because you probably couldn't show that scene on YouTube, as I thought. But yeah, crazy shit. But let's check, see if we can find a fight scene from Ninja Scroll, just to kind of talk about how good of a director this Yoshiaki guy is. No, it's not a super long one. Let's try to find a shorter one. Well, you know, it's only a minute long, but we'll go. We'll go. It's gonna be tentacles. It is gonna be tentacles, and the score in that is fantastic. It would be a great vinyl pickup if such a thing exists, Sarah. No pressure. Put it on here. I mean, look how that little sequence there was just put together like that. Look how cool that was. Let's go back a second here. Check it out again. Okay. Oh. And they use the sound. He's tracking the sound. Very, very cool. Very cool. And it's all those little touches. It's all those little moments, those little insert shots, those little kind of environmental things, like the sound of the bamboo and the guy's listening for it, you know? Just cool shit like that constantly in that movie. Constantly, it seems like the theme with that guy's work. Now, let me see here. Let's go to his filmography. I've only seen a handful of this dude's movies. But I want to go check out the rest of his filmography. And a lot of this stuff, actually, believe it or not, is on Amazon Prime. You can go check out Amazon Prime. They have Demon City Shinjuku. Yeah, we've detected... Oh, heads up. We've detected copyrighted audio and video in your stream. Your stream may be temporarily blocked. How wonderful. So, yeah. But there's a lot of cool stuff on Amazon Prime when it comes to this stuff. You can sorry, I had to redirect there. This thing's distracting me because it's telling me that it might block my stream. Anyways, good on you, AI. Fucking ridiculous. But anyways, yeah, I want to check out the rest of his filmography. He did a Neo Tokyo. He did a segment. That's an anthology film. He did Wicked City. That was his second movie. Lensman. Never heard of that. He did this other movie in 1988 called Demon City Shinjuku, which I talked about earlier. It's kind of like a spiritual sequel to this movie. So, but there's a few others that are on, or at least one other of his movies that are on Amazon Prime. Demon City Shinjuku's on there, and also A Wind Named Amnesia, which I was going to watch last night, but I was kind of like, I got to a point where I was like tired. I was like, man, I really want to pay attention. I really want to pay attention because I really love this dude as a director. I think he's very, very talented. And he also did the X anime series, which I've never seen. I remember hearing about it and seeing it a lot back in the day, but I've never actually watched it myself. And now that we're back into excellent condition for the stream, we can continue. But yeah, he's definitely somebody to watch out for sure. If you are so inclined. And I say this as somebody that's not even like, I'm not even a giant anime fan. It's like really not my prerogative in life as far as like films and stuff. But maybe I've been wrong. Maybe I should grow the fuck up. And I should start watching more anime. I had a great time the other day. Watched anime all day. All day, nothing but anime. So there you go. What else we got in the hopper for old Nightcap? Well, we could start getting into the Orson Welles stuff, I suppose. We've got some fun stuff to check out with Orson Welles. Let's do that. Or, yeah, copy link. P. Come on. Come on, sucker. Anyways, we're going to check out this Orson Welles. Some Orson Welles stuff. Talk a little bit more about Orson Welles. Talk about some of the end of Orson Welles' life. Be fun. And then we'll see where we go from there. Who knows? You know? Let's see what happens. So this is Orson Welles' outtakes from a commercial he did.
Marks. 102, take one. With overlap, action please.
This is like very me at 2:30 in the morning when somebody's trying to talk to me. That is the exact look I have on my face.
Action Orson, please.
You just do anything?
No, it's sorry, cut. Yeah, rolling. 102, take two.
Ah, the French champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence. There is a California champagne by Paul Masson, inspired by that same French excellence.
Imagine being the other actors sitting with Orson Welles while doing this. Imagine that. Imagine being those people sitting across from Orson Welles, legendary director, trying to keep it together. Because, you know, respect to the co-stars of this commercial. They keep a pretty straight face. You know? They keep it together. They're being very professional, considering what is happening.
It's fermented in the bottle, and like the best French champagne, it's vintage dated. So Paul Masson.
102, take three. Action please.
Ah, the French champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence. There is a California champagne by Paul Masson, inspired by that same French excellence. It's fermented in the bottle, and like the best French champagne, it's vintage dated. So Paul.
Yes, cut to the Animaniacs fish sticks bit. That's true. Animaniacs used this concept as fodder for Orson Welles for a lot of their episodes. What's it? I can't remember his name. It was the voice actor who did Brain. He was their resident Orson from Pinky and the Brain. But yeah. And then he has this other one I found. I found another one that's also pretty famous for being a silly Orson Welles clip. And somebody did like some animation to it, which I thought was kind of funny. Oh, nope. I'm just a big Welles head.
Nothing is more important than the simple act of people getting together.
Good.
We know a remote farm in Lincolnshire where Mrs. Buckley lives. Every July, peas grow there. Do you really mean that?
Yeah, so in other words, I'd start half a second late.
Don't you think you really want to say July over the snow? Isn't that the fun of it?
If you can make it almost when that shot disappears, it'll make my...
I think it's so nice that you see a snow-covered field and say every July peas grow there. We know a remote farm in Lincolnshire where Mrs. Buckley lives. Every July, peas grow there. We aren't even in the fields, you see.
Yeah, we aren't.
We're talking about them growing, and she's picked them.
Yeah.
What?
In July.
I don't understand you, then. What must be over for July?
When we get out of that snowy field.
When I was out, we were onto a can of peas, a big dish of peas when I said in July.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, I love that he's, you know, he's so bored by what he's doing. And, you know, if you don't know, Orson Welles used to do a lot of this commercial work or kind of do bit parts and independent director for most of his career post 1950s, mid 1950s. Basically, A Touch of Evil is the last commercial thing he did. So it's just funny that he's going in there and kind of trying to discuss the logic of how they feel about the peas, I guess. Makes me laugh. Makes me laugh. Hopefully we're not buffering.
Yes, always. I'm always past that.
You are.
Yes. Well, that's about where I say in July.
Could you emphasize a bit in July?
Why? That doesn't make any sense. Sorry. There's no known way of saying an English sentence in which you begin a sentence with in and emphasis.
So we might be buffering right now, so if it's the live stream. But it should be recording on the back end, I'm hoping. I don't know why it's being like this. Everything says it's good. Ah, the joys of live streaming. So much fun. I'm worried. I'm afraid to, like, fucking restart this thing. We shall see. Yeah, okay, we're still good. I don't know why it was being like that on my end.
Emphasize it. Get me a jury and show me how you can say in July, and I'll go down on you. That's just idiotic, if you'll forgive me by saying so. That's just stupid. In July. I'd love to know how you emphasize in July. Impossible. Meaningless.
I think all they were thinking about was that they didn't want to.
He isn't thinking.
Wilson, can we just do one last
Yeah?
And it was my fault. I said in July. If you can leave every July.
You didn't say it. He said it.
It's every July.
Your friend. Every July?
So after this show.
No, you don't really mean every July.
It is.
But that's bad copy. It's in July. Of course it's every July. Too much directing around here.
Could I have one more go, Orson, please? Sorry.
What?
Could I have just one more take of that?
Why? I just did it right.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not used to having more than one person in there. One more word out of you and you go. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
I take directions from one person under protest. But from two, I don't sit still. But who the hell are you, anyway?
No, I'm the engineer.
Well, why the hell are you asking me for another one?
Well, I thought there was a slight bonk, and I would just like to be safe.
Jesus. What is a gonk? You mind telling me what that is?
No, a bang from outside.
A bang from outside.
Norway. Fish fingers, Findus, Norway. We know a certain fjord in Norway, near where the cod gather in great shoals. There, Stangland. Shit.
Fraction more on that shoals thing, because you rolled it around very nicely.
Yeah, roll it around and I have no more time. You don't know what I'm up against.
Life lessons indeed.
Because it's full of things that are only correct because they're grammatical, but they're tough on the ear. You see, this is a very wearying one. It's unpleasant to read. Unrewarding. Because Findus freeze the cod at sea and then add a crumb crisp coating. That's tough, crumb crisp coating. I think, no, because of the way it's written, you need to break it up, because it's not as conversationally written. What?
Take crumb out.
Take crumb out. Good. Here under protest is beef burgers. We know a little place in the American far west where Charlie Briggs chops up the finest prairie-fed beef and tastes... This is a lot of shit, you know that. You want one more?
Yeah,
more on what, beef?
You missed the first beef, actually, completely.
What do you mean, missed it?
You're emphasizing prairie-fed.
But you can't emphasize beef. That's like he's wanting me to emphasize in before July. Come on, fellas, you're losing your heads. I wouldn't direct any living actor like this in Shakespeare. Well, you do this. It's impossible.
Orson, you did 6 last year, and by far and away the best, and I know the reason.
The right reading for this is the one I'm giving it.
At the moment.
I spent 20 times more for you people than any other commercial I've ever made. You are such pests. Now, what is it you want?
No, I think...
In your depths of your ignorance, what is it you want? Whatever it is you want, I can't deliver because I just don't see it.
That was absolutely fine. It really was.
It isn't worth it. No money is worth it.
No money is worth working with this bullshit. Good old Orson Welles, always there to bring the realness. It's just a fucking pea commercial, guys. Chill. Chill on a pea commercial, okay? Well, you know who you've been talking to. Yeah, he had an interesting career, you know, especially later in life, like I said, doing a lot of commercial work just to kind of, not even to make ends meet necessarily, but just to fund his own projects, you know. He had kind of a legendary status among a certain generation of filmmaker by that time. So when the people in the 60s and 70s kind of came to prominence, they all loved Orson Welles. They weren't part of the studio system. They weren't part of that stuff. They didn't carry with them the baggage that the old Hollywood had for Orson Welles. And if you'd like to, go check out Zoobox Goes to the Movies. It was, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I did a whole episode on Orson Welles because David Fincher is in the news. David Fincher directed this movie, Mank. He had kind of made some opinions known about how he felt about Orson Welles. And we went and we talked about it. We listened to some Orson Welles interviews, kind of directly refuting some of the claims that Fincher had made. It's actually one of the better solo outings I've ever had. You do these things, you do these live streams, you don't know what the fuck to say. You look into the concurrent viewers, they go spikes up and then it spikes down, and you're like, oh shit. It's very distracting. Very distracting. I wish I could just exist in a vacuum and not have to deal with any of this other crap. But anyways, I don't know, you know, it might be cool, like, to go, let's explore a little bit of Orson's life as an actor. Okay? Orson Welles, back in the 30s, did a lot of radio work. You know, most famously, Mercury Theater did a version of War of the Worlds. Now that's like an hour long. I don't know if we're going to get into that tonight, but what we're definitely going to check out is one of his episodes of The Shadow. Many people probably don't know what The Shadow is these days, but I learned about The Shadow when I was a kid because, for some reason, Hollywood became interested in making kind of like new Hollywood movie versions of old radio shows. They did The Shadow. They did what was it called? Oh my God. Not The Punisher, not The Skull. The Phantom. Billy Zane. The Phantom. You know, they're old serials, they're old radio shows, but I've always had kind of an affinity for this, for the Alec Baldwin starring The Shadow. I used to have the Shadow lunchbox set when I was a kid. That's right. My parents, not people of means at the time either. I was just such a fucking jerk kid that I totally was just like, yo, give me this thermos and lunchbox set of The Shadow. I saw The Shadow in the drive-ins. And when you see something when you're that young, you know, I was like 8 years old, definitely leaves an impact. Definitely leaves an impact. And I love that movie to this day. However flawed it is, I would not suggest it is a great movie. It is not a movie that everybody needs to go out and see right away, but I have a certain amount of nostalgia for The Shadow. Cool art, beautiful score, actually. The score for The Shadow is awesome. In the same way that the score for something like The Rocketeer is awesome. It's better than maybe the material itself. Now, The Rocketeer is a better movie than The Shadow, don't get me wrong, but nonetheless, The Shadow fucking rocks. So let's listen. We're going to listen to an episode of The Old Shadow. I do have the cassettes. If anybody wants to know my Orson Welles bona fides, I own the cassettes of Orson Welles. I believe all of the episodes he did, or at least a good chunk of them. And yeah, they're in the other room though, so I can't show them off. I can't be like, yo, check it out, I got this. I still have never opened them. I don't know if I want to open them because they're so readily available on every streaming platform, every service, everything. They're readily available. I mean, I can go to my Amazon Music and I can pull up these episodes. They're on YouTube. They're everywhere. So there's no real reason for me to bust out the cassettes because, you know, then they might get broken. But it's a cool little thing. I found it actually at a Goodwill for like $2. Little thing, comes like a little wood box. Probably something you would have bought back in like the 90s. Yeah, it's weird. I had a weird upbringing. Like My dad, for a very short period of time, was like part of this subscription service where they would send you like random old radio shows, and we used to just listen to them. And we used to also like go to I worked with my dad for a while, and the circumstances in which we worked allowed us just to like watch, or not watch, but listen to whatever we wanted to listen to. We wanted to listen to music, listen to the radio, listen to old radio shows. So a lot of times you just listen to old radio shows. And I grew kind of an affinity for them. I actually have kind of a soft spot for them. Now, this episode of The Shadow, I'm not going to be super familiar with, but I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun to check it out together. Hopefully, it doesn't kill the stream. It doesn't make YouTube bring down the hammer on old Jonathan here. But, yeah. It's a great public service these people do that put up these things online years after the fact, because most people they would be lost to time. They'd be totally forgotten, you know? But we're going to check it out. Just me and you. Just me and you. Pretty sure that's not part of the show. Death House Rescue of Someone. There we go.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
Blue Coal presents The Shadow, a man of mystery who strikes terror in the very souls of sharpsters, lawbreakers, and criminals. All signs point to a severe winter. Be prepared. If you want to be sure of even, dependable, healthful heat in any kind of weather, insist on Blue Coal, America's finest anthracite mined from the fields of northern Pennsylvania. The coal that is colored a harmless blue at the mines for your protection.
The Shadow agrees. I hope this is the one with Orson Welles. That guy did not sound like Orson Welles.
You can't have me to the jail. You can't do it. Let me out of here. Let me.
Paul Gordon, listen.
That's Orson Welles.
I can't see anybody. Who's that?
I am the Shadow. Stop. We haven't much time. We must hurry, Gordon. You're in the death house, charged with murder.
Yes, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. But nobody knows it.
Take courage, Gordon. The Shadow knows.
All right, Margot, won't you sit down? I told Albert to serve our coffee here in the library, unless you'd rather go on the terrace.
No, I prefer it here.
Then let me see you smile. That frown is most unbecoming.
Lamont, give it up.
Give what up, my dear? Drinking coffee?
I'm serious, Lamont Cranston. When I foolishly let you know that... Do you remember what you said? It will be exactly 5 years next week.
But there's still so much to do, Margot.
Well, then let somebody else do it. Don't you realize...
One of the craziest things about Orson Welles is his voice, right? He's like 22 while he's doing this. He's got one of these voices where it just sounded the same from the time he was like 20 to the time he died, you know, because he's giving this kind of really dramatic, deep, adult-sounding kind of tone to his voice. Just kind of special in that way, right?
Realize that you can't keep on like this forever. Someone's certain to identify you, and when that someone does, someone else is certain to kill you.
Perhaps, but until they do... Oh, darling, stop frowning.
I don't mean necessarily to give up your work, Lamont, but this other. Let the Shadow just disappear and come out openly. Join the organized forces of law and police.
Won't you realize, Margot, that my entire usefulness to the organized forces of law and police lies in my remaining outside those forces, in remaining always the Shadow? Would they approve my methods? Would they believe in my science?
You would make them believe. You could make them approve.
And in doing so, reveal my secrets, my knowledge. reveal them, and eventually let them fall into the hands of organized crime. No, Margot. No one must ever know. No one but you.
Nobody
Why
but
do you
you,
think I've
Margot.
devoted countless hours to investigating electrical and chemical phenomena? Why do you think I went to India, to Egypt, to China? What do you think I studied in London, Paris, and Vienna? Except to learn the old mysteries that modern science has not yet rediscovered. The natural magic modern psychology is beginning to understand, and, well, magic that wouldn't seem so natural. I studied and learned for a purpose, my dear.
All right, Lamont, I realize all that. But now the entire underworld has but one objective: to erase the shadow. And to me, that means...
Until they know what the shadow is and who he is, what can they do? Stop and think how many criminals are either dead or in prison because of our activities. Why, even now, tonight, as we sit quietly here, somewhere, an innocent human being may be in desperate trouble. Somewhere, perhaps, there is a problem that can never be solved, except by the shadow.
What did the doctor say, Grace?
It was good news and bad, too, I'm afraid, dear.
Well, whatever it was, dear, tell me.
Well, he said the baby could be perfectly well again within a year.
Oh, thank God for that. Poor kid. She's had a tough time. Well, what else?
Well, this part isn't so good, Paul. She'll need treatments during all that time.
It's interesting because the Shadow predates something like Batman by about 8 years. The Shadow comes from kind of pulp novels. It comes from, I think it came from like kind of Sunday cartoons, like, you know, the serialized cartoons they would have. And then obviously this radio show, then kind of serials that would be played before movies. And it's interesting because so much of the kind of the context, even what you just heard, right, about Lamont Cranston kind of explaining the perspective of the Shadow and why it's important for him to be what he is. Now, that's kind of almost like an advanced concept of how Batman, at some point in the story, in some point of the comics, starts kind of talking about his secret identity. This is something even, you know, Christopher Nolan, even as recent as that, kind of dealt with that same concept. That conversation is a microcosm of that idea. Pretty interesting, right? It's interesting to me.
Paul, treatments cost money.
I know. Well, we'll have to manage somehow. You didn't do a very good job marrying me, dear.
Darling.
If I could only get a job. I've got my health and I've got brains, but no one seems to want them.
Oh, they will, dear. They've got to.
You're right about that. We're just about down to rock bottom. I raised every cent I can on the house and car. There isn't anything left.
You and I are still left, Paul. And we've got to take care of Sally. She's our daughter, Paul, and she's got to have her chance.
And she's going to have it. Somehow. Tomorrow I'll start out and take anything I can get.
Darling, perhaps tomorrow things will break for us.
Yes. If only they don't break the wrong way.
No more beds.
Okay.
Over here.
Take these two over, Bill.
Excuse me, but are you the boss here?
That's right.
I'm looking for a job.
Nothing doing, buddy.
I'll do anything. Wait on table, wash dishes, anything at all.
I don't need any more help.
Well, how about delivering things? I've got a car.
Nope, I don't deliver nothing. Sorry, don't need you.
I see. All right. Thanks.
Hey, you.
What? You calling to me?
Yeah, sit down. Have a beer.
No, thanks. I don't drink.
Anyhow, sit down. Meet a friend of mine named Lefty. My name's Red. Look at my hair and you'll know why.
Well, I'm glad to meet you both. Gordon's my name, Paul Gordon. Well, do you want to talk to me about something?
We might. Might be able to help you out. Sounds like you're looking for a job.
You bet I am. I need one. You know anybody that could use me?
Maybe. We don't know you yet.
So far as that goes, I don't know you either.
See, Red, the guy's smart.
Yeah, maybe too smart.
Now, look here, Mr. Gordon. We need a car, and we need somebody to drive it for us. You understand?
Well, I've got a car, and I can drive.
Is it a good car? Has it got speed?
I'll guarantee you up to 80.
That's not bad. It's not bad. Now, listen, kid. How about meeting us tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock?
All right. Where?
Well, let's see. We're going to, I got it. Right in front of the Uptown Bank. We got to go there first to cash a check.
Well, how about $5 a day?
That's so. But you remember, be there at 9 o'clock, or you don't get no job.
Don't worry, I'll be there. I'll be there at 8 o'clock.
I like the fact that this idea that, like, the Shadow himself, Lamont Cranston, is like kind of this rich playboy guy who's got this secret life, but his modus operandi is to actually help out the downtrodden, desperate people. Like, the structure of this is that, like, we're introduced to Lamont Cranston, we kind of understand his ideological perspective, his pathology as a person, and then we're introduced to what's happening now, the drama, like kind of the meat of the story, the thrust of what's going to happen. Like, what does the Shadow have to fight against? What does he have to answer to? That's interesting, right? That it's just kind of these people that are down on their luck. It sets the Shadow up as kind of a force for good against all of these other kind of shadowy things that are in the world. That's the interesting dichotomy of the Shadow. Is that he understands, like, kind of the evil of men because he was one. He was an evil dude. He knows what that's about. Kind of cool. Just saying. Just saying. It's more direct than, like, Batman. Right? Because Batman probably, he starts as a guy that's fighting low-level criminals. It's not always about the end of the world. It wasn't always about supervillains, but it very quickly becomes that, right? Like, the Shadow kind of always existed on this kind of lower level. In the same way, in fairness, like to comic books, like that, like, say, Marvel's Daredevil kind of is like a street level hero, helping people like that. Even Luke Cage is kind of like that. So it's interesting because you kind of can see the DNA of all the things that you know and like that are happening these days. You can see in something like the Shadow from all the way back in the day. Pretty cool.
Hey, buddy, you can't keep this car in front of the bank all day. I just see that sign, no parking.
I'm not parking, officer. I'm waiting for a couple of men. I'm working for them.
Oh. Hey, what's that? It sounds like shots. In the bank. Hey there, stop there, you. You got him, Lefty. Here he is with the car. Come on.
Actually, just as a quick aside, it's kind of funny that the setup for this story is almost like the setup for The Killing Joke. You know, Alan Moore's kind of fuck you origin story of the Joker. It's kind of similar in a certain respect.
You start that much for. Step on it, fella. Hey, buddy, you can't do that. Go on, I will shoot.
Let him have it, Red. Hold him off.
I'll hold him. We should never have shot that cop. Can't you get no more speed out of this car, fella?
She's doing all she can. Shoot at their tires, Red.
Missed him.
Try the windshield. Say, let me out of this. Take the car. They'll think I'm in with you. That's just what we're figuring on. Now, here comes a curve. After you make that stop, get ready, Red.
I'm ready. I'm just leaving the evidence.
Put it under the seat cushion.
Right.
Okay, goodbye, Gordon.
Thanks for the...
Hey, wait, you guys. Don't leave me like this. They'll think I did it. Hey, come on back, will you? Come back.
Up with their hands. Come on, get them up.
All right, officer. I haven't got a gun. I wasn't in this. They made me drive the car.
Yeah, keep your hands up just the same. Go through the car, Charlie.
Okay, Sarge.
Now, fella, you might as well come clean on this.
I haven't done anything. I tell you, I'm innocent.
Hey, Sarge, I got it. Under the rear seat cushion. A bag full of bills and a gun.
That's the gun that bumped off my buddy Louie.
A patsy. Oh, my God. He's a patsy, everybody. You know, it's cool, like, the way they recorded these, which gives it kind of a sense of urgency, gives it a sense of life, like, kind of realism, is that, like, these are people in a studio, people there, the Foley workers, like, making the sound effects live in the studio. You know, you hear all these gunshots. It's like somebody, like, hitting a fucking box with a bat. It's really kind of cool the way they used to do this stuff, and it gives it a beautiful texture, a beautiful life. You know, it does feel like immediate. It feels urgent. It feels almost realistic in a certain way, especially at this portion, right? Like the stuff with Orson Welles before when he's talking to Margaret, like that feels a little stagey, feels a little prepared, but still Orson Welles, you know, giving kind of a naturalistic performance. But this sequence in particular, you know, the cops chasing him, the gunfire, like think about the production of doing that and recording it back in 1937. Like that's pretty cool. Because I'm a nerd.
And you say you're innocent.
Yes, I am.
Well, it'll take more than saying so to keep you out of the electric chair. Order in the court. Order in the court. Paul Gordon.
Like, what a great transition, right? Because they're probably recording this live. So they go from this dude getting stopped by the cops, the chase, getting stopped. They find the gun and the money underneath the seat of the car, to using this organ as kind of as an audio transition to the court case. That's really cool. That's really inventive. That's pretty cool.
The jury have found you guilty of robbery under arms and statutory murder. You have been shown to have had both motive and opportunity. The prosecution has piled up a mass of incontrovertible evidence, and I myself have no doubt of your guilt. Therefore, in accordance with the law, I direct that you be taken from here to the place from whence you came, and that there you be put to death in the manner stated by the law. And may God have mercy on your soul.
Hey, who's that? Where's that last person?
Who laughed? Bring that person before the...
Who's that fucking asshole? There's somebody laughing. He's crazy. What the fuck is going on?
Well, I don't know where he is, Your Honor.
The laugh came from...
Like a ghost. Disembodied laughter. Oh my goodness. In the courtroom. What is going on?
Over there. In that corner.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor, but there's no one in that corner. Only a shadow.
Go to sleep, dear. Mother will be right here in the next room. Oh, God. Please help me. Help me. I don't know what to do. Yes? Who is it?
My name is Margot Lane. I have a message for you, Mrs. Gordon.
You're not a reporter, are you?
No, I'm a friend. I've come to help.
Oh, then please come in. What is it you want, Miss Lane?
Mrs. Gordon, your husband has a friend who's going to help him. Here's $1,000 in cash.
Huh?
That's for you and Sally.
1,000? Who was it sent this to me?
Well, that I can't tell you. But the message with it is not to lose hope.
Oh, there is hope for Paul, then.
The man who sent this to you never fails.
Who is he?
Well, that I can't tell you.
But, Miss Lane, you
Just
know
some guy.
him.
Sometimes I wonder whether I do. I love him. But I wonder whether I know him.
What do you mean?
It's hard to tell whether I really know the man or only his shadow.
Oh, shit.
Well, Lefty, tonight the fall guy goes to the chair.
That's what he gets for being a sucker.
Yeah, there's not a clue that even points our way.
Not even a
they're
print.
not wrong.
We had gloves on all the time.
They're not
You
wrong.
had yours off for a minute when you were sitting next to him.
Yeah, but I didn't touch the wheel.
Then we ain't left a clue.
You think so?
Who said that? You, Lefty?
No, I thought it was you.
It was I. You cannot see me.
Who are you?
And where are you?
I love that they have to, like, you know, just before he said you cannot see me. Like, they have to have, you know, because it's a radio play, they actually have to have the characters acknowledge, like, who is that? Where is he? What's going on? Like, you can't, you know. I know it's obvious, but it makes me laugh.
I am here in the room, in the shadow. You have pinned your crime on an innocent man. He shall not suffer, but you will.
I don't know who you are, where you are, but you're bluffing anyway. You got no evidence. We didn't leave a clue.
You did leave a clue. A clue that will send you to the chair.
Where was it? Where was it? You're lying.
Wouldn't you like to believe that? Keep thinking about it. Keep thinking about the clue that you forgot. Margot Lane.
I like that he just shows up to torture people. He's just like, hey, listen, you're not thinking this through. Mm-mm-mm. The shadow knows. What if he talked like that? The shadow knows you didn't think about it. That's what they need to cast a sassy gay black man to be the shadow in the future. That's what I'm calling for. I'm calling for it now, Hollywood. Let's fucking grow up. Okay? You could have some guy saying like, the shadow knows. It's happening. That could be a thing. That could be a thing.
Paul Gordon is in the death house and is to die in the chair tonight. I am going to him now. We can still save him.
Call
Stand
Tanishi
by
Coates.
for orders.
Get him on the case.
In a few moments, we will return to the shadow. But before we do,
Okay, so sometimes when they do these commercials, my favorite is when they actually bake it into what you're listening to. A lot of old comedy things will be like, hey, yeah, that's great, Chris. I know your wife's going to leave you, but have you had one of these Lucky Strike cigarettes? Now, people, if you've ever seen the movie The Truman Show, they do kind of like a joke version of that, where they're just like, they're talking about like Ovaltine or something. And like, she'll be talking to Truman, his wife will be talking to Truman, and she'll just suddenly hold up a coffee can of like Folgers or something. They used to do that a lot in these radio shows, but I think because of the dramatic nature of the shadow, they're eschewing that, trying to do something a little different. I do like that whoever put this video up, the Radio Ghost, subscribe now, actually included the ads for whatever they're talking about. Nice touch, guy. Nice touch. I respect that. I appreciate it.
let me stress this one fact. For home heating, anthracite is best. And America's finest anthracite is blue coal. Anthracite is the healthful fuel. It gives steady, uniform heat that helps prevent colds and cuts down doctor's bills. For with anthracite, there is no quick chilling of the house, such as you get with fuels of the on and off type, or with quick burning fuels that flare up and burn out. Bear in mind that heating plants in this part of the country were especially designed to burn anthracite. So before that cold snap catches you unaware, call your local blue coal dealer. You'll find his name listed in the Where to Buy It section of your classified directory under the words Blue Coal. Call him tomorrow and order a supply of America's finest anthracite.
Love it. Too good.
Gordon, have you got any word from the governor?
I'm sorry, Gordon. The governor refuses to take any action.
Then I've got to go.
Hey.
Tonight?
Fucking be cool, bro.
At 11 o'clock.
What time is it now?
Almost 10. Is there anything I can do for you?
No. Thank you, Gordon.
Very well. These guards will move you to another cell. I'll be back in a little while.
Ready, Gordon?
Yes, Scott.
We're just going to move you to another cell.
What does it matter?
The one you're going to is nearer.
Nearer to the chair, is that it? All right. Let's go.
All right, Gordon. Walk to the left.
We'll be right here behind you.
Now knock the door into the preparation chamber, Pete.
Okay, just a second.
All right. Go on through, Gordon. Watch him, Pete. I'll shut the door.
What's the use of all this trouble? What chance have I got now?
I'm afraid you haven't got much, fella.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
What do you mean?
Holy smokes. Look behind you.
Where?
There. Oh, too bad. I hated to do that, but there wasn't any other way, and he'll only be out for a while. Now, Gordon, listen to me.
So Sarah says, like, referring to what I said about the commercials in story commercials. Even game shows and soap operas of the time and early TV did that. More personable and subversive ads have always been that way. It's true. Like, if the characters that you're watching actually promote the products that they want you to buy, it can be effective. Granted, like, once we kind of went more into this kind of broader celebrity culture, they just did literal commercials for the things. So now you see Jennifer Aniston hawking hair dye, So they don't even have to do it inside the commercial. You could be watching Friends, and then you could see a commercial, and Jennifer Aniston pops up, and she's telling you to get some hair dye, or what's her name? What's her name? Talking about keeping regular, eating yogurt. Wild times.
Where are you? I can't see you anymore. Where have you gone?
Back into the shadow. Now, Gordon, we haven't much time. Listen to me. No crime is perfect. There's always somewhere a loose end. The only reason that all crimes aren't solved is because there's some one fact that someone knows and doesn't tell. And sometimes they don't tell because they don't know that they know.
I told everything I know in court. They wouldn't believe me then.
Because you couldn't prove what you said. We are going after the proof now. You and I.
How?
I'm going to think with your mind.
I don't know what you mean.
Don't try to understand.
Is he like a Vulcan? Is he a Vulcan, or the mind melding? Sorry. Sarah says, Activia, Jamie Lee Curtis. That's right. Thank you so much. Now murdering the digestive system. Listen, the older I get, the more I understand that keeping it regular is important. God bless that woman. God bless her work.
Just do as I tell you. I want you to concentrate, Gordon. Fix your mind on everything that happened that day. Make mental pictures. I'll see what you see.
I'll try.
No. No.
No, don't try, bitch.
No, Gordon.
Do it.
Stop thinking about your wife and baby.
How did you know I was thinking about that?
I saw it.
I don't like
in your mind. I see in my mind the pictures you create in yours.
Oh. Like television?
Yes. Or like mental telepathy or mind reading, hypnotism, whatever you choose.
Or whatever, who cares?
There's no time to talk. Stop talking. Think.
I will. I'm thinking now.
The picture is getting clearer. That's better. Go on. The restaurant? The bar? Gordon, stop thinking about the electric chair. It blurs the picture.
I'll try.
Ah. That's better. The car in front of the bank. Yes, I see it. The policeman. The crowd. Yes. Wait a minute. The small man with red hair. He was the one you called Red.
Yes.
Yes, I see him.
Really clever, like.
Crooked nose, short, glasses. I know that man. He's Red Sloan.
He's a bitch.
It's hard to see.
I know. Think for your life. Try hard.
Yes. You started the car. The other, Lefty, was in front with you. Lefty. Lefty. See him for me, Gordon. Ah, yes. A scar on his left cheek. Why didn't you mention that in court? I forgot. Never mind. Concentrate. Yes. Yes. Lefty couldn't keep you covered with a gun and look back at the same time. What did he do?
He reached up and twisted the rear view mirror.
Now we've got it. Ah, that's the loose end. That's where his thumbprint will be. Gordon, now I can save you. You've told the truth. You didn't know you knew.
Ew. Sarah says, "Goddamn, this is good." Totally agree. Sarah says, "Why did we ever think Seth Rogen was a good candidate to convey this era of story?" Oh, I'm assuming she's talking about the Green Hornet, which would have been the 60s. But yeah. Yes. You know what's really cool about that? Like, if you think about that performance that he just gave, the performance that Welles just gave, he's like trying to do this kind of like freak out psychic thing, right? And his voice is like quivering and quaking the whole time. It's almost like the model for how people would deal with, like, the way that people would deal with the idea of having a psychic event. It's the affectation that people would put on kind of post this. It's interesting. I would like to kind of maybe delve into some more of this kind of stuff to see if that is something that Welles himself kind of came up with, or if that's kind of a device that was already in the ether, you know? Because it's interesting, because like he needs to communicate completely through his vocals, through his voice, like the strain of the psychic experience about trying to read somebody's mind. So it's kind of interesting, in my opinion, but I'm a nerd.
Another one over here.
Red, you're a fool for coming in here again. This is the place we picked up that kid that's burning tonight. What you want to come in here for?
This is as good a place as any, ain't it?
Hey, telephone for you, Lefty.
Telephone?
Yeah, maybe you never heard of it, but it's a great invention.
But nobody knows I'm here.
Well, somebody knows because they're waiting on the phone for you. It's over there on the wall.
Okay.
Don't be too long, Lefty.
Hello? Say, what are you laughing at? Who is this?
Lefty.
He's like Bart Simpson calling Moe's bar. The Shadow's pretty petty. Just saying. For a dude that can be invisible and show up in a room and whisper shit in your ears, him calling somebody and laughing at them, pretty kind of petty. Just saying.
Did you ever hear of the Shadow?
Yeah. Say, what is this?
Too bad about young Gordon, isn't it, Lefty?
What do you know about that?
The Shadow knows.
Who are you? What do you want?
I want justice. Justice for Paul Gordon, Lefty. And I'm going to get it.
But you ain't got no evidence.
No. Perhaps there are some fingerprints, Lefty.
Oh, no. We had gloves on. There couldn't be no fingerprints.
Did you have gloves on all the time?
Yeah, sure. I did.
You're left-handed. Now listen carefully, Lefty.
Okay, like seriously, like why wouldn't he just show up and be the Shadow, which he can be invisible, they can't see him, and say this? Like, why would he call him on the phone? Is this a power move? Be like, listen, man, I'm so fucking Chad that I don't even really care. I don't even care enough to show up to this grime bowl that you're in. What's that all about? Sarah has a correction. Started as a radio drama. I did not know that. The only thing I ever knew about the Green Hornet was the TV show where Bruce Lee was Kato. So, how do you like that? How do you like them apples?
When you were sitting in the front seat of Gordon's car, your gun was in your left hand.
remember?
Say, you ain't nobody, are you? It's just... Say, how do you know?
What did you do with your right hand?
My right hand?
You took off your right glove, didn't you?
No, I didn't. No, gosh, I'm going nuts.
And you couldn't see the car that was chasing you because the angle of the rear view mirror was adjusted for the driver and you weren't driving, so... Do you remember what you did?
No, I didn't take it off.
Are you sure you didn't reach up with your bare right hand and turn that rear view mirror? Are you sure, Lefty?
No, I didn't. Maybe I did that.
If the police find that fingerprint, you'll burn, Lefty. Just the way young Gordon's going to burn. Tonight.
Oh, my.
Goodbye, Lefty.
Hey, wait a minute. He hung up.
Guess we can't find him now, boys. Sarah says, also, used to listen to the tapes of Green Hornet in my garage growing up. Also, this is just a total mind F move, which is awesome. Yes. So Sarah had as cool of an upbringing as I did, where our adults in our lives exposed us to things that even they really shouldn't have been exposed to because, they're too young. But here we go.
No, I won't burn. Hey, Red!
Yeah, certainly gab long enough. Say, who was the guy
Never mind that. Where's that car of Gordon's now?
In his garage. I guess I heard his wife.
Listen.
What?
I got a hunch. There's some fingerprints of mine in that car. Red, we gotta wipe them off of there, or maybe we'll burn in that chair, too.
Come on, let's go.
But, Commissioner...
I'm sorry, Miss Lane, but I don't see what we can do.
But I tell you, Paul Gordon is innocent. The men who committed the crime are free.
Where did you get this information?
Oh, that I can't tell you.
Miss Lane, Paul Gordon was convicted of murder by due processes of law. Tonight he pays for his crime in the electric chair. If the police listened to every crank who came in here claiming new evidence...
But they can't send an innocent man to the chair. They can't do it.
No, but they can send a guilty man. And according to the evidence, Paul Gordon is guilty.
Commissioner, suppose that afterwards, when it's too late, they discover that Paul Gordon wasn't guilty after all. And suppose I testify that the police refused to listen.
Well, what do you want me to do? If it's within reason, I'll do that.
I want you to send some men to that garage. I want you to catch the guilty men and see that justice...
I love his answers like, what should I do? Try? Should I try? Yeah, you seem like a credible witness. But I'm busy. I gotta eat some beans later. Empty the chamber pot.
Justice is done.
Gordon, I'm frightened. Brace up, Gordon. It won't be long.
Get your chin up, buddy. It's my turn next. So long, fella. Good luck.
Bye-bye, kid.
Where is he?
Sad as fuck.
He promised to save me. Who, son? I don't know. It was a voice. Just a voice. He said he'd stand by. Now, steady, old man. Don't lose your nerve, Gordon. Open it up, men.
No, I won't go in there. I didn't do it. I didn't kill him. I tell you. He said he'd stand by. Warden, wait. Only a few minutes more. Just a few minutes. Don't take me in there yet. No, wait, please. He said, please wait.
Easy, Gordon. I'm sorry.
But if I go in that door, I'm gone. It'll be too late then.
Take him in, men.
No, wait. Oh, where are you? Where's that voice? Where did he go? Please come back.
Warden!
Wait a minute, men. Well, what is it?
Warden, wait. The governor's on the phone. He says stop. Hold up everything.
What'd the governor say?
He wants to talk to you on the phone, Warden. He says don't electrocute this man. They've got the other two guys in Gordon's garage trying to rub out some fingerprints. One of them was shot and died. But before he died, he spilled it all. This fellow didn't do it. It was a frame-up.
Oh, thank God he got me in time. Gordon! Did you hear that?
Yes. Yes, I heard it. That voice said he would. I'm free. You're not going to electrocute me, Warden. You're not.
No, Gordon. The governor saved you.
Governor? No, it wasn't the governor. It was somebody else.
Or something else.
But what do you mean, Gordon? Who saved you?
I don't know. It was a voice. Just a voice. I never really saw him. He was only a shadow.
Before another adventure with the Shadow draws to a close, John Barclay, Blue Coal's heating expert, would like to say a few words. Mr.
Listen, it's wintertime, folks. You got to keep your house warm. Okay? You got to do it. Get some Blue Coal.
Barclay. Good evening, friends. If you're interested in having a more comfortable home this winter, be sure to call your local Blue Coal dealer. For he's more than a fuel dealer. He's an authority on modern home heating. You see, for more than 6 years, I've trained servicemen for these Blue Coal dealers. These men, known as John Barclay servicemen, have added thousands of families like yours to enjoy a greater degree of comfort and to save heating dollars, too. I'm going to read part of a letter typical of many received from
This dude hates fucking doing this. So this is a company man talking about Blue Coal. He's like, listen, we got these certified dudes. They're fucking really cool. They're really great. Everybody should get it. Here's a testimonial.
Satisfied customers using Blue Coal and John Barclay service. I quote in part. The service rendered by your John Barclay servicemen has been invaluable to me. We were burning a ton of coal a week and having great difficulty in keeping our fire going throughout the night. Your serviceman made me many helpful suggestions regarding the proper way to regulate the furnace and recommended the use of Blue Coal. We not only reduced the amount of fuel consumed to 1/2, but actually got more heat. Think of that, friends. In this case, a family cut their fuel bill in half simply by following the advice of a John Barclay serviceman, whose services were given without charge. Now, you don't...
Free assessments? Okay. Free assessments? Pro move.
Don't have to buy Blue Coal to benefit from John Barclay service. No matter what kind of fuel you're using or from whom you've been buying, if you have any heating problems, consult the Blue Coal dealer. He'll be very glad to place his John Barclay serviceman at your disposal to solve your problems. I thank you.
Hey now.
The story you have just heard is copyrighted by the Shadow magazine.
Oh, I guess we can stop there. Don't want to hear about your filthy copyright, Shadow. Yeah, interesting, right? Cool way that they would construct and execute on stories there. Very simplistic, very kind of easy to engage with, easy to understand. Something kind of cool about that, in my opinion. You know, one of his most famous things was the War of the Worlds. Now, I'm not quite sure we're ready for War of the Worlds type stuff yet, but we're gonna test. We're going to test the YouTube waters a little bit, and we're going to try to play a little bit of Jerry Goldsmith's score from the 1994 version of The Shadow, because it is so good. Even if we just play a little snippet so that you can kind of you can get a taste. Now, that is not Alec Baldwin. That's Alec Baldwin's brother, Jimmy Baldwin. No, it's one of the Baldwins. I can't remember his name. Sarah wants to know, is the Shadow just the id and guilt of man? In some ways, yes, he is, actually. That would be kind of a correct assessment, because he feels guilty about the life that he had led, and then he had kind of this awakening moment in an extreme way where he's given these powers, and he gained perspective, and that's how he knows. He knows because he is kind of a reformed bad person. And the Shadow is his id, kind of in the Jungian sense. That is his shadow self. And that is what allows him to kind of act in these slightly nefarious ways towards criminals. That's why he's so antagonistic. He's having fun with them. The Shadow persona is kind of mischievous in a way that Lamont Cranston isn't. So there you go. I think that is I think you nailed it there, lady. sweeping score, a sweeping, beautiful score for a movie that might not deserve it. Although I don't hate that movie, so that's my perspective on that. But to go back to kind of the Orson Welles-ness just of that, like, it's a great, fun performance, very like kind of actory performance from Orson Welles doing The Shadow. But going back to kind of just his radio work, he did War of the Worlds, the one that, like, allegedly sends the world into a tailspin. Everybody thinking aliens are coming and invading, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was kind of small segments, small pockets of society that were acting that way. But the secret to the story is that Orson Welles loved it. He thought he fucking nailed it. And maybe he kind of did. We're going to listen to a few things that surround the concept of that. I'm hoping that we don't get nailed for it. So we're going to find out. One of these is an AT&T joint. So these are some of the operators that night. The night that this premiered, a bunch of people freaking out, calling their operators, being like, what is going on? Are we being invaded by aliens, etc.? Trying to look for emergency services, kind of just being unhealthy and freaking out. So we're going to take a gander at what some of the telephone operators had to say about War of the Worlds, and then we're going to look at like Orson's immediate response, because he gave an interview where he kind of like apologizes, kind of. Let's see if we can skip ahead a little bit so we don't get nailed for music.
1-1, we had the switchboard operator. Telephone subscribers came to rely on the ever-present
George, you have a voice for nothing. As a man that has a mild lisp himself, I'm just saying.
Reassuring voices that greeted them when they picked up their phone or dialed 0. When a fire broke out, or a child went missing, or a loved one.
Like, is he somebody's cousin? Like, is he related to somebody that would be in the production of this little mini doc for AT&T Archives? Is he related to Mr. AT&T? Maybe.
Became sick or injured, the operator was called to summon help. And it was not unusual
I wish
to
this
hear
guy
stories
was the
of
Shadow.
great personal courage demonstrated by operators.
This is what I was talking about.
Who would remain at the switchboards to warn others of
The Shadow knows, okay? The Shadow fucking knows.
Pending danger rather than flee ahead of a threatening storm. So it should come as no surprise that on that Halloween Eve in 1938, when Martians were believed to have landed in New Jersey and a full-on invasion of Earth appeared to be underway, operators remained at their posts and did their best to calm the legions of distressed callers who reached out to them in genuine fear for their very lives. The story you are about to hear is...
Imagine sitting at your radio, by your radio rather, and like thinking like, fuck, this is it. I guess I might call my operator as well, right? No reason not to. Who else are you going to call? You're looking for information.
Real. Straight from the AT&T Archives and History Center, here's War of the Worlds. Operator versus the Martians.
Hey now.
The ever popular Stardust, Raymond Rickello and his orchestra.
Back in those days, to get to the telephone company was, if you didn't go to college, you went to the telephone company. It was very well thought of and prestigious type of job.
Because that was the thing to be. My mother was a telephone operator, my aunt was a telephone operator, and I can't ever remember wanting to be anything but.
We interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes
lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars.
Every light on that board lit. Now that board was, I would say, almost a half block long.
Our board lit up when they announced that the Martians were coming across the George Washington Bridge. And that's when the excitement started.
Some people said, did I have a chance to see them? What were they like? What did they look like? I figured them little peoples. I don't mean foot tall. Little peoples, green in color with a flowing hood.
Have you seen any Martians?
No. They're going over to New York. Tonight, the sky's alive with their lights, just as if people were still living.
Because they were crying and screaming and wanting to know if there was a lot of gas, if there was a lot of destruction, were there fires, is there a lot of shooting, are there bodies all around?
But people believed it. They really believed it that night. And I think of the ones who were begging us to get connections to their families, to their husbands, to mothers and fathers before the world came to an end, so they could just tell them they loved them.
At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead in a field east of the village of Grover's Mill.
One man told me that.
Well, think about hearing that, though. Think about hearing that. Think about, like, coming late to this radio show. It's presented as a news report. Think about that. Like, that's pretty wild shit.
People were jumping out of the windows, and they were going to kill their families before the Martians could get them.
You see, it was not a case of answering a light and connecting them to somebody else. All they wanted was the operator.
I was just so concerned that I was going to be able to help all these people, and never a thought of getting out of there because my life was in danger, because I believe part of it was with the old telephone company training, you were very dedicated to your job. You stayed there through thick or thin.
A bulletin is handed me. Martian cylinders are...
Yeah, otherwise you got fired. They're like, listen, you fucking leave for any reason. You're not here to answer the switchboard. You're dead. You don't work for AT&T no more.
Falling all over the country.
And one lady, probably minutes or many minutes after the onset, said they're as far as Chicago now. And I thought, if they're traveling that fast, they're going to be in Missoula before I get off duty.
This is Orson Welles, ladies and gentlemen, out of character, to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering it was intended to be.
Any man that could cause that kind of upheaval in a whole country,
made me wet as a fucking biscuit,
from coast to coast, has got to be great.
We were exhausted when it was over with, but I look back now, I wouldn't have missed it for anything.
Not a goddamn thing. Wow. This is sweet.
This has been the December.
Yeah, so there you go. I wish they had kind of just like more long form, let those ladies talk about their experiences, because that's, you know, that's pretty truncated. It's just kind of little things like, oh, people asking me about Martians. People asking me about that stuff. You know. Let's see if we can find a good interview with Orson. Orson Welles right after all of the hullabaloo. And, you know, because it did, like, you know, we are joking around, but some people did take it very seriously. Some people, I believe there was even some suicides, people driving off the road, looking for the aliens. So, while maybe not like the widespread panic that maybe the legend of the War of the Worlds broadcast developed. It was something for some people. Make no mistake, you know? And that's kind of one of the cool things about it. In a weird way, it's almost like original OG, like found footage movie, right? The way it's constructed, the way they did it as a news broadcast. Very novel, very cool. So now we're going to check out George Orson Welles interviewed by journalists after the War of the Worlds broadcast. But before we do that, Sarah says, the craziest thing is to think about how we live in a world where we are so desensitized that the outlandish isn't a cause for pause anymore. We just fight it. True. You know, back in the day, this kind of thing, if you heard it on the radio and it looked like a radio, like it looked like a news segment, it's so crazy that, like, you might actually believe it, because you're used to that forum presenting this truth. The box gave you reality, which is something we see different versions of today, right? It's not aliens. It's just more subtle. It's politics. It's religion. It's whatever. But the impulses are the same. So, good point. So we're going to check out this. This is a bunch of reporters gaggling Orson Welles. After that, he's going to talk about how he feels about it.
Our shows were more intensely dramatic.
Back of the psychological reason back.
I simply don't know. I can't imagine. I mean, you must realize that when I left the broadcast last night, I went into dress rehearsal for a play that's opening in 2 days, and I've had almost no sleep, and I know less about this than you do. I haven't read the papers except
What was
just
the first inkling you had that something was wrong?
after it was over. Indeed.
Were you aware of terror at the time you were giving this role? Were you aware that terror was going on throughout the nation?
Oh, no, of course not. You know, we did Dracula, and it seemed to me during Dracula I had high hopes that people would react as they do in a movie of that kind, and I don't know that they did particularly, and so I'd given up. One doesn't believe in the radio audience much. You don't know that whether they're listening or not. You have no idea how many people are listening or what they're thinking. I had every hope that the people would be excited as they would be at a melodrama. But, yeah. Good. Tone down do it again, but you don't play down the melodramatic effect of a melodrama.
Have you altered your plans for future programs in any way as a result of this incident?
Naturally, we will have to sit down and think very carefully about future broadcasts.
Have you make any specific changes in any programs that were already scheduled, such as next week's, for instance?
No.
Mr. Wells,
3 short stories.
when you listening in on this program would know that there was no such thing as Martians.
Well, it would seem to me unlikely that the people of an invasion from Mars would find ready acceptance. I was frankly terribly shocked to learn that it did. No. But I'm primarily the...
Mr. Wells, why did you use local towns in this program?
Well, H.G. Wells uses local towns addressing an English audience. I was addressing an American audience, so the transplantation was quite logical, it seemed to me. He doesn't use mythical towns. He uses quite real ones. Yeah.
That was a mythical town,
It was a mythical town, but it was near enough. It was near enough to a real name. I've forgotten how we figured it out. It's either that it's Grover's Mills, or it is Grove's Mill, or something. At any rate, we changed it slightly, hoping that would a thing which H.G. Wells did not do. His names are quite real English towns, without any change made. Yes.
Towards the camera. We've asked you that before.
Ask it loud, very loud.
Do you think, Mr. Wells, that you might have taken unfair advantage of the public in using a method as a conveyance for authentic news?
I don't believe that I have since it is not a method original with me. It is used by many radio programs. I am terribly shocked by the effect it's had. I do not believe that the method is original with me or peculiar to the Mercury Theater's presentation.
Do you think there ought to be a law against such enactments as we had last night as a result of that?
I don't know what the legislation would be. I know that almost everybody in radio would do almost anything to avert the kind of thing that has happened, myself included, but I don't know what the legislation would be. We simply, radio is new and we are learning about the effect it has on people. Learned a terrible lesson.
Do you think that this will cause the curbing of radio bulletins on the air today?
I simply can't imagine. It seems to me that the effects of this may cause much legislation. I simply don't know. The wisdom of radio executives and of an organized public will decide these things for us. It's not up to me to speak. I'm the accused. Accused. I was in Europe at the time that Schuschnigg was murdered, and I remember very vividly the time, the way that came through the air. I should say that your presentation last night was even more dramatic and more realistic than the way the Vienna radio station did theirs.
Yes, the intention...
In view of that, don't you think that somebody here would have been able to gauge the reaction which in fact has occurred throughout the United States?
Well, every radio program tries to be more dramatic than life, as every play tries to be more dramatic than life, and every movie, not less so. I would have been surprised and hurt, as anybody would, if they'd been told that a presentation was less effective than life.
Well, there you have it. That's what the man himself thought right after that. Now, it's interesting. First off, it's funny that everybody at this time period sounds like old-timey radio actors. So that's kind of funny. But, you know, he's just acknowledging kind of the new format, the challenges with the new format, having to be asked about kind of these rote things. Through that, in that prism, like these rote things like, oh, why did you try to make it so real? Why did you get, like, as if it was like purposefully trying to mislead people. Other than the fact that, like, any art, any good art, whether it's genre, drama, historical, whatever, doesn't matter. You want people to believe in what you're doing. You want there to be sincerity. And like I said, it is kind of an early form of the found footage movie. Kind of fascinating, right? And like he said also, like, he's not the first person to ever do this. But it was just kind of a testament to his skill and his ability as a director, as an actor, that it just had a little bit more verisimilitude. You know? It was just a little bit more believable. Something about it just touched people in a little different of a way. Now, granted, the legend has grown for that. It was not as widespread as maybe people want to make it out to be, but definitely caused some havoc. And I think the reason why he got so, not necessarily pilloried for it, but questioned about it, was because that some people had committed suicide. Kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal. But I do know privately, just in my years of research, reading about Welles and whatnot, that he was overjoyed. I mean, if you have that kind of public reaction, that means you fucking nailed it. Sarah says, makes you question life, makes the weirdness of life somewhat within reasonable reach. I agree. So we're going to listen to an interview of Welles about War of the Worlds that came from a little bit later. You're going to be able to tell he's a little bit fatter. Okay, cool. All right, we're back. We're back. OBS disconnected and then reconnected. I don't know why, but there you have it. Anyways, so we're going to be listening. We're going to check out an interview from a few years after that, which I don't remember what he says in this, so we're going to be finding it out together. We're going to go for it together. All right, here we go, everybody.
And if you think this is an exaggeration, it's only a little while ago that I again ran into some workers, some welfare workers, Quakers and Red Cross people who had been up in the Black Hills of Dakota some 5 or 6 weeks after this broadcast, persuading the people to leave the mountains and go back home because the Martians really hadn't come. All kinds of people reacted in all kinds of ways. For example, John Barrymore, the very famous American actor, this I know to be true, was listening to the broadcast, and although he was a friend of mine, ceased to identify me with the show and believed implicitly that America had fallen to the Martians, and hearing this on his radio, rushed out into his backyard where he kept 10 Great Danes in a kennels and released the dogs, giving them their freedom, crying to them as they ran in all directions of the compass, "The world has fallen, fend for yourselves." And I still meet people all over the place, everywhere in the world, who've had experiences, bitter or otherwise, as a result of our little experiment in broadcasting. Just the other day, I was coming here to England on the ferry, and some people were in the next compartment on the boat. The boat train said to me, "There you are, Orson. Well, you sure scared us. We were on our honeymoon. My wife and I." I'm sorry to say that they looked a very ancient couple, but there they were. I said, "We were on our honeymoon and had a little portable radio. We were out there by the lake and heard what you said. We come right back home. Not spoil the honeymoon, but glad to see you, Orson." That kind of thing has followed me all over the world since then. And a lot of people wanted to know what to do. As a matter of fact, they were phoning us from all over the place, some of them reporting that they'd seen Martians landing in their backyards and asking for advice. And there were others that claimed to have been attacked personally by Martians. The whole experience was extremely intense. I suppose we had it coming to us because, in fact, we weren't as innocent as we meant to be when we did the Martian broadcast. We were fed up with the way in which everything that came over this new magic box, the radio, was being swallowed. People, you know, do suspect what they read in the newspapers and what people tell them, but when the radio came, and I suppose now television, anything that came through that new machine was believed. So in a way, our broadcast was an assault on the credibility of that machine. We wanted people to understand that they shouldn't take any opinion predigested, and they shouldn't swallow everything that came through the tap, whether it was radio or not.
Wow. Wow. Kind of a deep lesson there, right? About how they felt as artists, but also just how people react to a new technology and how they were kind of they were aware of it. That's really cool. I did not know that. I mean, that's freaky, prescient, you might say. So with every kind of development of technology and whatnot that we have, like, these are the kind of things that we need to be aware of. And even back then, they kind of knew that, and they were like, "Oh, let's shake it up. Let's shake people up." Truly the master. Truly the master. You know, Big Paul and I are supposed to do the Coen brothers next for our next filmography watch through, but I might go and pitch Orson Welles. I might make a pitch for Orson Welles, because God damn it, Orson Welles ahead of the curve. No matter what curve we're talking about. So good. So fucking good. But this right here, I guess I would say this. This is a little tease, a little precursor. Next time we do Nightcap, the next episode of Nightcap, we're actually going to listen to the War of the Worlds broadcast. We're going to listen to the War of the Worlds broadcast. Now that we've kind of set the table, we have all the context, we kind of understand who Orson Welles was at the time. You know, before we start watching, maybe we'll watch a few interviews, give a little more context. But I think this is probably a good place to stop for the night. Just because, you know, it's getting late for me. But also, I think we've set the stage think we've set the stage for the War of the Worlds, and we'll add a little bit more context. I'm going to go do a little bit more research, be a little bit more well prepared, and that we will listen to the broadcast of the War of the Worlds, the original 1938 broadcast, or 37, whichever. I think it's 38. But anyways, yeah, we'll listen to that. Now that we've kind of got a taste of him as an actor at the time, doing The Shadow, listen to some interviews, the way people reacted to it, you know, the operators from AT&T. Excuse me. And yeah, so next time we do a Nightcap, I think we're going to dive straight into War of the Worlds, and then we'll try to kind of expand and expound upon the realities of the reaction. You know, because some of what Orson just said, that was scripted. He's kind of reading a prepared statement a little bit, right? I don't really honestly have that much of a problem with that myself. I know some people do. But it is to add to the legend of it. It is to add to the legend of it. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, check out the links in the description. If there's something you'd like to see discussed on Nightcap Live, or on Zoobox Goes to the Movies, or Zoobox Prime, throw it in the comments section. Hey, we will seriously consider it and put it on the list. Look forward to December. Zoobox Goes to the Movies. We're going to try to focus a little bit on Christmas movies. I know we have one slotted for It's a Wonderful Life, and then we're going to go from there. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, you guys have a great night, great day. If you're watching this tomorrow, I appreciate it. And we'll talk later. Adios.